You sound checking.
Oh, so I hear A even if I have the A channel turned off.
No, you hear talkbacks because
Gotcha.
talkbacks are to all channels.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Thanks, Clayton.
Yep.
So I still need bass. Brandon.
Is that camera team ready though, Andy?
Yep, we're all ready. So then, wait, Kevin, if Jimmy's talking on A, do I still hear him even if A's not on?
No, you do not.
No, he turns on
Cool.
B
Got
to
acoustic and ready.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Yep.
Gotcha.
We're gonna check Ableton and Brandon, your vocals.
All right, camera's a minute
Okay,
and
got your
30
vocals,
seconds. Let's go ahead and take just a 30-second, 45-second
Got bass. Thank
break,
you.
just to prepare our hearts and minds for the service, and we'll see you at about 45 seconds.
I think Click is muted. Where I'm not getting anything. Is Kevin there?
It's not muted. Make sure nothing's soloed. That's there now.
Are we still good for go, or are we holding?
Just wait on me.
Okay,
We'll
hold.
be good.
Okay, we're good. Sounds good.
All right, we got worship intro video coming up. Straight into worship after that. It's 30-second video going in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, go video.
All right, cameras, we got 28 seconds until we're coming out on camera 1. Camera 1, we're going to start off a tight follow on Brandon. And then we're going to go right to camera 6 on keys. Keys, when you're ready.
Worship in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Camera 1 is live.
Good morning,
Sorry,
welcome.
sorry.
We're excited to have you with us. It's a new year, and we're gathering in person today. And
Yeah,
we
they're off
wanted
right
to
now on
start
purpose.
off remembering that we are a part of a greater story. We're joining God's redemptive plan, and He has
All right,
a
Parker,
purpose
get set
and is
there.
inviting us to be a part of it. And so we want to celebrate that, remind ourselves of this bigger picture that we're joining, that we're a part of. So let's stand, let's prepare our hearts, let's sing out.
All right. Ready, Parker?
2, intro, 2, 3, 4.
Ready, 1. Take 1.
God of Jacob, great I am.
Ready, 2.
King of angels, Son of man.
Take 2.
Voice of many waters.
Ready, 7.
Song of heaven's throne.
Take 7.
Louder
Ready,
than
5.
the thunder. Make your glory known.
Take 5. Ready, 7. Take 7.
Hail, hail, Lion of
Ready, 1.
Judah.
Take 1.
Let the lion roar.
Ready, 6.
Hail, hail, Lion of Judah.
Take 6. Ready, 2.
Let the lion
Ready, 1. Take 1.
roar. Hail, hail,
Ready, 2.
Lion of Judah.
Take
Let
2.
the lion roar.
Ready, 7.
Hail, hail, Lion of Judah.
Take 7.
Lion roar.
Take 1.
Roar.
Take 2. Ready, 1. And take 1.
Pride of Zion.
Ready, 5.
Prophet spoke.
Take 5. Ready 2. Take 2. There we go. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 6. Take 6. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 1. Take 1. Take 2. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 2. Take 2. Take 1. Take 7. Take 1. Take 7. Ready 4. 4 on lead. There we go. 4 on lead. Stay where you got. Stay there. 4. Drop down. Drop down. Ready 2 to west, please. 2. Take 2.
Prepare the way.
Ready 1.
Prepare the way of the Lord.
Take
Prepare
1.
the way.
Ready
Prepare the
4.
way of the Lord.
Take
Prepare
4.
the way. Prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare the way.
Ready 7.
Prepare the way of the Lord.
Take 7. Ready 5. Oh, 7, you're alive, sorry. Take 5. Ready 1. Take 1. 7. Oh, ready 2. Take 2. Ready 4. 4, start going. Take 4. Ready 2. 2, go back west. 2, take 2. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 7. Take 7. Take 1. Take 7. There you go. Nice job, 7. Keep that up. Take 1. 2, get wide. Take 4. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 6. Take 6. Take 1. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 6. Take 6. Take 1. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 7. 7. Take 7. There we go. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 4. Take 4. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 7. Take 7. Ready 5. Take 5. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 7. Take 7. Focus over in the lead. There we go. 7. Focus in the lead. Ready 2. Take 2. Ready 1. Take 1. Ready 7. Stay there. 7. Next song's I Thank God. We're going to start off on drums. Take 7. 7, go ahead and focus for me. And 5, take 5. 4, take 4. 4, go over to that electric guitar. Keep going left. Focus, focus 4. There we go. Ready 1. Take 1.
Wandering into the night,
Ready 7.
wanting a place to hide this weary soul,
Take 7.
this vagabond.
Ready 2. Take 2.
And I tried with all my might,
Take 1.
but I just can't win the fight.
Ready 5.
I'm slowly drifting,
Take 5. Ready 2.
a
Take 2.
vagabond.
Ready 7. Ready 1. Take 1.
And just when I ran
Ready 4.
out of
Take 4.
road, met a man
4. Head him up. Head him up. 4. Head him up. There we go.
He
Ready
told
1. Take
me
1.
that I was not
Ready 2. Take 2. Ready, 7. Take 7 and 7, stay there. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 1, take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. 4 a little faster. 1, take 1. Ready, 2, take 2. 7, I need you on west. 7 on west. Take 5. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Stay there, 1. Yep. Ready, 2, take 2. Ready, 5, take 5. Ready, 7, take 7. 4, stay in that lead for me. Ready, 2, take 2. Take 4. Ready, 7, take 7. Ready, 1, take 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Take 5. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 7. Or take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. 4 goes to Brandon. Go up to Brandon. There we go. Take 5. Take 6. Take 1. 1 or 2 get wide. Ready, 7. Take 7. Take 2. Ready, 1. Take 1.
Lost another one. I am free.
Ready, 2.
I am free.
Take 2.
Oh, I am free.
Ready, 6.
I am free.
Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 7. 7 focus on Emily. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. Take 4. 4 go over to Brandon. Go up, go up, go up. That's all right. Take 1. Ready, 6. Take 6. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, 7. Take 7. Ready, 1. Take 1. Ready, 4. 4 focus. Take 4. Ready, 2. Tight. Ready, 5. Take 5. 4. Get to that electric guitar. Take 4. All right, ready, 1. And take 1.
Picked me up, turned me around, placed my feet
6.
on
Gotta get
solid
on
ground.
keys.
I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because He healed my
Got hosting
heart,
coming up.
changed my
Ready, 2.
name.
Take 2. 1. Ready for
Forever
host.
free, I'm not the same.
Ready,
I
6.
thank the Master,
Take
I
6.
thank the Savior.
Ready, 1.
I thank God.
Take 1. And 1.
All right, let's go host.
Host.
Yes, Lord, we got so much to be thankful for.
Nice job,
today,
everybody.
in this new
First 2
year,
songs
and
are
this,
over.
The day that you woke us up, and the fact that we're here and we get to celebrate all your goodness. So, God, we want to make much of you in everything we do and say today. Would you
All right,
speak
5
to us
minutes,
today?
sit
Would you renew our
All
hearts
right,
for you?
thanks, 5,
this
6,
morning?
7.
In
You
Jesus'
guys
name.
are good to step down.
Amen. Amen. Hey, if you're here on site, you can take a seat. All those online, welcome as well. We're glad you're here with us. We made it. We're here, first gathering 2023. How's everybody doing? Good. 9 a.m. You're lively today. I like that. That's good. That's good. Well, hey, as it's a new year, and I know we're making kind of New Year's resolutions, but also kind of deciding what we're going to kind of spend our time doing and the people we're going to do life with. You hear us talk a lot about groups, and I thought it might be helpful to kind of give you an insight of what a journey community looks like. So why don't you tune in with us, watch this video, and you'll get to see kind of what a typical journey community looks like. Here, let's watch this together.
Go video.
For my husband and I, we're really excited to find a community. We live here in Montana without any family nearby. So our family is those friends that we bring into our inner circles are really important for us. We just had our first baby, a little girl. Pretty excited to be alongside our friends that have also just had children. And for me as a first-time mom, it was really important to have that support system and people around me that know how to keep babies alive. And We just really like Jamie and Adam's dedication to having group and how consistent they are, because that's super important to foster that community and not canceling and persevering through all the weird things that come up on a Monday night that may make you want to cancel. So we just feel really supported by them and the people that decide to show up every day, and that's how we want to live our lives, is by showing up for our friends and living life next to them, and we appreciate that.
We moved here from the Midwest as well, and so we also don't have family, and it's been so awesome just to have a sisterhood of not only just friends to just sharpen each other, encourage each other, but also to be in that same stage of life of parenting and, I don't know, just getting wisdom off of them and just being there for each other. It's hard. It's a hard stage of life, so it's awesome to have those people to lean on. So
just being in that stage of life where everybody, maybe a few people are a little bit further down the road, can pass on their wisdom, and then other people who are in it, and you can call on the hard days, and they know what you're going through. And
So the baby dedication is just because we want to live in community and
30
really
seconds left.
raise our kids to be God-fearing leaders, and to do that with other parents is really important and special to us. And we just all happen to have babies this summer, so why not all stand together and dedicate our parenting lives to these kids who are going to be the next generation in a world that we really need leaders and kids to grow up knowing the Lord.
There'll be an
strong
additional
in their
person
faith.
on stage, so remember that. I'm going host. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go back host.
1, you're on.
All right. Well, hey, we have the pleasure of having one of those members here today. This is Amanda Tucker. You saw her with her adorable daughter in that video. But I thought it'd be fun just to ask a couple questions, if that's okay. Because there's a lot of people here that probably want to know what it's like to be in a group, or
Before
maybe
we'll
have
go way stuff
some of
on
those
this one
things
from
in their mind.
Amanda.
So I was curious for you,
Amanda's way stuff.
what's it been like for you
then just don't cut off
personally as you've
Logan's head.
committed
There you
to
go.
being in a community? What has that done for your personal walk with the Lord?
Sure, yeah. Being in a community group has
And
just
then
been a huge
four,
blessing
go
to our
ahead and get them
family,
on your
and
left there, just 'cause
it's
Wes
definitely
is, like,
impacted my walk with
right
the Lord
there, if you can try to cut
tremendously.
one.
Gonna have a parent
Some of
call
the
going
areas
up
that
in a
really
sec.
stick out, I would say, are
Okay, sounds good.
just learning to pray for others. I can fall into just praying for myself and my family a lot, and it's awesome to just be able to walk with my friends and learn their joys, learn their hardships, and be able to, as a group, pray for them. Also, just being able to read the Bible more. With my group, we're always doing a plan with our group, but I've also specifically been able to read with some of the ladies outside of group, and that's just been awesome, having that accountability, having them check in on me, and making sure I'm spending that time with God in that way. So that's been awesome. And then lastly, I'd just say, kind of like what the video touched on, we are just a group made up of families with a lot of young kids. And yeah, we don't know what we're doing, so it's nice to be able to figure out how to do it together, and really just encourage each other to
Jamie,
be
is
more
your
like
call-
Jesus
there
as
you go.
we're
You got it.
raising
Never
our
mind.
kids. So yeah.
Yeah, I love the honesty of we're just trying to keep these kids alive. Sometimes, I feel that. And so I think it's beautiful.
Another one's
Even
going
one
up.
of the things you highlighted in that video
for it.
was that you all are kind of combined, caring about the next generation.
Yeah.
Tell me what that's like to have a group that's kind of unified in that, of raising these leaders to follow Jesus in the next generation.
Sure, we touched about a lot of our my friends that are in our group. We are not from here, and so I think when my husband and I moved into town, we were really looking for a church that focused on the next generation, and now to have that just close-knit community that we're doing life with, who has that same level of commitment to raising the next generation, has just been a huge answer to prayer for us. So we're just really thankful for that, and to be able to walk side by side with these people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, something that Amanda didn't highlight that you may not know about her is in all her spare time, having 2 young kids, she actually volunteers with youth. So if you are an 8th grade girl or a parent of an 8th grade girl, Amanda's a person that pours into your daughter
pulling
every
it
single
down.
week. And so I think it's really important to highlight. So she's
Sounds
like you.
good.
She's in the community, but she's also giving back. And Amanda, thank you for that in general. And January is our retreat season, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we have our retreats coming up. And so if you are a student in this room or a parent of a student,
Go for
there is
that
still a little room for you here. Our middle school retreat's actually next weekend, but there's a QR code on the screen. We'd love for your student to join us. All the information, registrations, dates, times, all that's there. Come meet Amanda. She'll be maybe your small group leader if you're an 8th grade girl. But Amanda, thanks so much for being willing to jump in and serve and care in that way. So Journey, as we close our time before we jump into service, I just want to remind you there's 3 ways to give as always. Thank you for your generosity. It makes it possible for us to do things like rent buses and go to camps and
go ahead and
throw
just
dodgeballs
kinda-
at kids and all that fun stuff. So thank you in
Yeah,
advance.
too much.
I think there's like a Nerf bow and arrow, which seems very unsafe, but we'll figure it out. But thank you for your generosity as always. And Bob's going to come out here in just one moment. We're going to kick off our new series in Philippians. So let's watch this video together.
Go video.
I always pray with joy because of your partnership
All right,
in the gospel.
one coming on
from
in
the
a
first
minute,
day until
15.
now.
He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ
Somebody
Jesus.
on 3 right now?
No, it's the TV moving out.
I was like, why is it zooming that
Oh,
much?
crap.
They need to hit that button, don't
Yeah,
they?
no, they do need to
For
very
to
quickly
me,
do
to
that.
live is Christ, and to die.
Hey,
Can
Ben,
you
you
guys
guys
make sure
need to
the
hit
screen is on the right spot, please?
Whatever happens,
Tell Bob to push the
conduct
red button.
yourselves in
Tell
a manner
the band to
worthy
tell
of
Bob
the
to push
Ben,
gospel
somebody
of
tell Bob to
Christ.
push the button.
We'll just, I think it needs to be plugged
your
in and then
relationships with
reset
one another,
on
Bob
the
needs to
right
push
Have
it.
the same
setting.
mindset
Bob
as
needs to
Christ
push it.
Jesus.
Whatever
We
is
got to figure
true,
out why that's doing that
whatever
because it
is
should
noble,
not have to
whatever
move.
is right, whatever is
gotta-
pure, whatever
So
is
we
lovely,
need to tell the band.
whatever is
make note,
admirable.
tell
Thank
the
you,
band
guys.
to not
Anything
hit
is
that
excellent or
switch in the bottom
praiseworthy.
left because that's what
Think
they're
about
hitting. I
such
think it's the
things.
switch in the bottom left.
Whatever you've learned or received or heard from me or
With their
seen in
hand.
me, put
while they
into
move it.
practice, and the God of peace will be with you.
All right, go into speaker in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go speaker.
Good morning, Journey. Happy 2023. Excited that you are here with us. Just as Brandon left stage, he gave me a big hug and said, 2023, it's Michael Jordan's number. And I just got really excited. So I hadn't even thought of that. My childhood hero, 2023. We are starting a new series today that we're called Rediscovering Joy. We're going to be going through the book of Philippians. And part of the heart behind this is that we asked you to raise your hand and just say, who wants a little bit of joy in their life, a little more joy in their life? Probably everybody would raise their hand.
Is this framing on camera too good?
Because we live in a world, and let's just be honest, there's a lot
more
of
time,
downers and disappointments.
twos framing?
And when we look
Yeah,
across
that's
the
fine. I like
landscape
it.
of our life, we'll see setbacks and
Is that camera,
failures,
or
and
is the
even out
TV
in
all
the
the way in
world,
that
there's
shot?
tragedy and
Okay, perfect. That's good.
disasters. And if we choose to say this is what we're going to focus on in our life, is this the lens we're going to look through, there's a great opportunity for us to end up with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and maybe even a lot of despair.
Thanks, Juan.
Here's what I believe is true, that you or someone you know is probably struggling right now with anxiety and depression, real struggles. Some of the statistics I looked at, and some of these were pre-pandemic, says that in a given year, 50 million Americans will suffer with anxiety and depression on an acute level, having panic attacks, phobias, and anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders, it is the #1 mental health issue with women in our country, and with men, it is second only to drug and alcohol abuse. One of the studies
Or
that I
can you
read
get
too
just a
said
bit
that
tighter
the
for me?
U.S. is by far the most
waist stuff.
anxious nation in the whole
And then just follow
world.
on left third.
USA,
Keep going.
USA.
Keep going.
There's probably some
There you go.
things we
Something
don't
about right
want
there, and then follow
to win
on
at.
on that left third.
The Journal of the American Medical Association did a study over the 20th and the beginning of the 21st century, and they said that each generation is 3 times more likely to suffer from depression than the previous generation. 3 times, 3 times, 3 times. Exponential growth in the levels of depression in and around our country. Friends, we are living in a place of joy deficit. Our hearts are troubled. And since the pandemic, that has only grown. And here's something that's interesting. When you look at the globe and they do these studies in other countries, even developing countries, experience 1/5 the level of anxiety and depression that we experience here in the United States. Even though they have fewer of even the basic life necessities, and they're experiencing much greater challenges than we are experiencing here. And get this, when those people immigrate to our country within a handful of years, they are experiencing the same level of anxiety and depression that we experience here in the United States. Friends, we are missing something. I know you might just think that these studies that I look at, these things that I'm referring to, that this is just things that are happening out there in the world. This doesn't happen in the church. Like, nobody in and around here is anxious or depressed. Now, I don't have any statistics for our spiritual family, but I do get texts, I do get emails, I do get prayer requests. I know that this is one of the biggest things that we are praying for in and around people's lives in our congregation. We are not immune from the things of the world. We need an infusion of joy. And that's why we're doing this series that we're calling Rediscover Joy. And we're gonna walk over the next 8 weeks through the book of Philippians. And Paul is gonna help us understand, what does our life need to be rooted in if we're gonna experience the kind of joy that God would want us to experience? The book of Philippians is a unique book. It's a book that's got they've got one theme that runs throughout the whole book, and it is this theme of joy. The word joy and the related verb rejoice is found 12 times in the book of Philippians, and it's found in every chapter from beginning to end. This is the theme, but we've got to ask ourselves, what is our joy rooted in? And now you would think if we were going to read a book that is talking about experiencing joy, that the circumstances of Paul's life as he writes this book would be that everything in his life is going up and to the right. Everything is going well for him. But this joy-filled letter is written by the Apostle Paul from prison in Rome. Now, it was always Paul's dream to go to Rome, but Paul always believed that he would go to Rome as a preacher, not a prisoner. Paul was a Roman citizen, and as a Roman citizen, that meant that he had all the rights and privileges that was given to a Roman citizen, but he wasn't afforded those in Jerusalem. He was mistreated. He was unjustly arrested. He was falsely accused. And then as they tried to take him from Jerusalem to Rome, he was shipwrecked, almost lost his life. And we look at the story of Paul's life. He was beaten. He was stoned, trying to get to Rome. When he gets there, he finds himself under house arrest. Paul is in a place of hardship. He's in a place of opposition, not only internally in prison, but outside. Friends are deserting him, and there's uncertainties about his future. He doesn't know what's going to happen next. So you would think if there was anyone that was going to write a letter that would be looking at life through dim lenses, it would be Paul. Someone that would be complaining about being victimized by the circumstances of life, it would be Paul.
The HDMI cable's going in and out
We
of the
don't
monitor.
see that
That's the
in
issue.
this letter. None of it. There is no complaining. There's no pouting. There's no woe is me. It is a letter that from beginning to end, he's talking about his joy and his rejoicing, because he is confident in something that is deeper than the circumstances of his life. And this is why I share this, because I believe this is important. We need to understand Paul's circumstances, because here's what I think. I think if I'm gonna listen to someone that's gonna tell me about joy, I need to know that they've walked some difficult things. Like if I think that life has just been handed to them, everything's been easy for them, I'm just gonna sit back and say, I can't relate. Paul, that was great for you. That's not the world that I live in. But when I look at what Paul walked through, the deep distress, the potential despair that he walked through, I say to myself, you've got my ear. I will listen to someone that's walked the hard road and knows how to experience joy. And that's what we're gonna allow Paul to do with us over the next 8 weeks. Paul, what have you learned about experiencing joy in the midst of the challenges of this life? Let's dive in. We've got a lot of text to cover today. We're gonna start at the beginning of chapter 1. I'm gonna skip the first couple verses of the greetings and get to the place where there's Paul's heartfelt introduction and his love for the church in Philippi. Here's what Paul says, starting in verse 3, chapter 1. He says, I thank my God every time I remember you in all my prayers for all of you. And here it starts, right at the beginning. I always pray with joy. I always pray with joy. Why? Because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. And then there's this. He prays with joy because he is confident of this, that he, meaning God, he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. At the very beginning of this letter, Paul talks about joy. And he says, Church in Philippi, I always pray with joy in my heart for you. Because of this, I am confident. I am 100% confident, and I am confident of this, that there is a good work that is happening in your life. And God is the one who's doing it. When I pray for you, Philippians, I have joy in my heart because I am absolutely certain that God who intersected your life is never going to abandon you. He's going to walk with you through all the things of your life, and he's going to do good work in and through your life. I know that to be true, and so I pray with joy. And then Paul continues because he starts to talk about what would be a normal part of a first century letter. You share your heart for the people that you're writing to. And here's what Paul says. He said, it is right for me to feel this way about all of you, since I have you in my heart. And whether I am in chains or defending and confirming the gospel, all of you share in God's grace with me. God can testify how I long for all of you with the affection of Christ Jesus. And now when we get to verse 9, Paul makes a transition. 9 through 11, he actually prays the things. He says out loud, this is what I'm praying for. This is the good work that I want to see God do in your life, that I pray with joy. Paul continues, here's his prayer, and this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that you may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ to the glory and praise of God. Now I'm imagining if I'm listening to this letter, I'm just thinking, thank you, Paul, for praying those things over my life. I want to see all those things come true in my life. But here's what I believe Paul's also understanding is going on in the life of the Philippians. There's a lot of things happening between this joyful prayer and the good work of God. There's a lot of life that's happening. There's a lot of circumstances. That's short for circumstances, just so you know. We have challenging things that are happening in our life that can obscure our ability to be able to see even the good work of God in our life. Some of you might be sitting there like, I don't know about God's good work in my life because I've got a marriage that is just hanging on by a thread. I don't know if it's going to make it through this next week. You're saying, I don't know about God's good work in my life. My kids are off the rails. They've walked away from God. They've walked away from me. I don't see God's good work in my life. Some of you are thinking about your financial life. Interest rates are high. Inflation is high. Stock market is low. What's going to happen in the future? We can have life circumstances. You can have a job that you're just thinking, I don't love my job. I don't like my boss. I don't like my coworkers, and I have to go there every day. You might be having health issues that are obscuring your ability to see God's work in your life. Relationships around you that are just a disaster. Brokenness everywhere. Paul, is there really a good work that God is doing in my life? And to me, friends, I believe that Paul actually anticipates that this is the question that the Philippians are going to be asking because they know Paul's situation. They're thinking, Paul, you're in prison. Your dreams are being shattered. All the things that you wanted to do in terms of taking the gospel to the ends of the earth. Now you're stuck in prison. Paul, how can you say that there is a good work that God is doing in your life and through your life? And Paul just says, Just watch. And over this next section, what Paul does is he starts to explain to them how even in the midst of these challenging circumstances, these life circumstances that he didn't want or ask for, God is still on the move in his life and through his life. The first thing that he tells them is that the palace guard is now hearing the gospel. Here's what he says, verse 12. Now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ. I want to go back again and say Paul's calling was always to take the good news of Jesus to the ends of the Gentile world. That was his calling. God had asked him to do that. He wanted to go to Rome, which was the center of the empire. But he didn't imagine that he was going to go there as a prisoner rather than a preacher. He was arrested in Jerusalem. And like I said earlier, on the way, he was shipwrecked on the way to Rome. And then when he gets there, he has to wait 2 years under house arrest, waiting for a trial before Caesar that is probably going to end his life. 2 long years. Not an opportunity to get to preach to the masses. He's just stuck in one small little house, chained to a guard every day. But Paul wants the people in Philippi to know this is what's happening every day. Every day the guards change and a new person comes in. And you know what happens when a new person comes in? Paul gets the opportunity to tell that person what God has done in his life. He can tell his story about how he was a persecutor of Christians. He was out to kill Christians. And then God knocked him off a horse on the way to Damascus, and he met Jesus personally, heard the voice of Jesus personally. And Jesus called him to be the spokesperson to the Gentile world. And Paul would be in chains with a guard every day saying, it's amazing the grace of God, and that grace is available to you. Guard after guard after guard, year after year, 2 years. And he's saying the gospel is going forward. Lives are being changed. And here's what's interesting even about the Praetorian Guard, the guards that were watching Paul. They were like the elite soldiers. They had the ear of Caesar himself. They were his bodyguards. They worked in the imperial palace. They had influence in the lives of Caesar himself, persuasion in his decision. Paul is looking like, hey, I didn't plan on prison, but as I look at it, God is using this for his glory and even my good. He's accomplishing what I've always wanted, is to take the gospel to the ends of the earth. And Paul is saying, this is what's happening inside the prison. But that isn't even where it ends. He says, there's great things that are happening even outside of the prison because I'm here. Verse 14, he says, and because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. Paul gets stuck in house arrest, and he was their guy. He was the one that they were following, and now he's on the bench. He is inside of a prison. And what did that do? It took other believers who were followers of Paul, and he said that they started to not trust me so much, they started to trust the Lord himself. And they started to do the things that they saw me doing, taking the gospel to cities that didn't know about Jesus. And they were being raised up. That leadership vacuum created an opportunity for other people to step in, and the good news was moving. A leadership vacuum always creates an opportunity for people to step up. And as I was thinking about this, I felt like there was a place where the Lord kind of just nudged me and said, I need you to give a strong exhortation. There are some of you that are sitting on the bench. You've been invested in your life. But now is an opportunity for you to step up and to begin to think about, how do I invest in others? How do I serve others? People have shepherded me How do I step into shepherding other people? And maybe you're saying, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm qualified. Let me say this. If you have felt a nudge from God, you are qualified. He doesn't call people that are qualified. He qualifies the called. If he's nudging you, step in, say yes. Step into a leadership vacuum. Be a part of what God is doing in the world. A third thing that Paul talks about in terms of how him being in prison is having great things happen for the good is that people, even with wrong motives, are preaching boldly. Listen to this, verse 15. He says, "It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I am in chains." But then I love this. He's like, but what does it matter? But what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached. And because of this, I rejoice. Paul's rejoicing, even though there are people out there that are doing ministry things, doing things for God, but they don't have the right heart. They had the right message, because if their message wasn't the pure gospel, Paul would have confronted it. But there were people that were doing ministry things, the right things, with the wrong heart, for the wrong reasons. This made me just step back and think a little bit. Can that be us? Can we be involved in doing ministry things, leading, serving, with a wrong heart, with a wrong motivation? I think Paul would say, step back and ask yourself, not just what are you doing, but why are you doing the things that you're doing? What is your heart motivation? And here's what I hear from Paul, is the reason that he can rejoice is that good things are happening, even though people are trying to stir up things for him, is because it's not about me. It's not about me and what I get out of it. It's about what happens for God's glory. Is that our heart? Is that our motivation? Do I do what I do for the glory of God, or am I doing it because I just want to look good? I want people to think I'm doing a great job. Or do we want to please God? Here's how you'll know. Here's how you'll know. If you take away those attaboys, if you take away people's observation and affirmation of what you're doing, are you still motivated to love and to serve and to lead? If those things are taken away and you get bitter and you grumble, you've got the wrong motivation. We've got to get our hearts right. Do the right things for the right reasons. So you see, Paul has stepped back and he's telling the church in Philippi, God's at work. Even though there are challenging life circumstances, things that we wouldn't choose necessarily, God is still at work. Church, we can trust that, is what Paul wants us to know. What we need to understand is we need to think about what we're focused on. I've used this illustration before, but I'm going to do it again because it's always been helpful for me, and I believe that it's going to be helpful for you. Here's what I want you to do. We're going to all do this together. Everybody's got to participate, or I'm going to make you come up here and do it by yourself. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to hold your hand out in front of me. I want you to spread your fingers wide, and I want me to be in the background of your fingers so that you can see me between your fingers. And here's what I want you to do. Focus on your fingers. What I know is true is that when you're focusing on your fingers, I become really blurry in the background, not really clear. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to look through your fingers, and I want you to focus your eyes on me. What happens then? Then suddenly your fingers become blurry. What is crystal clear in your eyes is me. This is a great picture of what Paul is trying to help us understand. We can choose what it is that we focus on. Are we going to focus on the circumstances in our life that are stealing our joy? And many of us do. Are we going to be able to look through our circumstances and believe what Paul is telling us? That God, even in the midst of this, even if you don't see it, he is at work in your life. Are we going to believe that that is true? That's what Paul wants the church in Philippi to understand. Now, I was reading this, and I'm imagining that there's some of you out there that you're going to also throw the red flag and just say, I've got an objection. Paul, that's easy for you to say because you were on the other side of circumstances and you were able to look back and see the hand of God, see the things that he was doing in your life, and you were able to say, look now. But I want to say, Paul, what about the guy that was unjustly arrested, that was accused unjustly? Were you rejoicing then? I want to talk to the Paul that is holding on to a chunk of a shipwrecked boat out at sea. Is he praising God and rejoicing then? What is Paul saying then? What is his heart? Is he rejoicing there? Honestly, we don't know. We don't know, but this is what we have from Paul. This is a man that has lived both sides of very difficult life circumstances. He's gone ahead. He's gone before us. And he's looking back and telling us, this is what you're going to experience. If you focus on the circumstances of life and the depression and the despair and the circumstances, your joy is going to be diminished. He said, you've got to look past it. You've got to look past it and grab a hold of the belief and the trust that God is at work, even in the difficult things of life. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that we look past our circumstances. And sometimes I hear people say this about difficult circumstances like, oh, it's just all good. It's just all good. It's great. God's using. There are difficult circumstances in your life that are not good. They are not great. God can use them for good in your life. But let's just be honest. Let's don't try to put lipstick on a pig. There are difficult things that people are walking through. We're not going to try to pretend that those things are good, but we are going to say God can use them for good. They can be part of his good work that he wants to do in our life. And what Paul is trying to tell us is we can choose. You get to choose what you focus on. Are you going to focus on your circumstances? Are you going to focus on the character of God and your belief that he can do a good work in and through your life in the midst of circumstances? You get to choose. The famous Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl wrote this statement, and I just thought it was so powerful for someone who had walked through something so difficult. He said this. He said, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. And if we pursue happiness, meaning the feelings or the emotions around our circumstances, instead of choosing joy, we'll become what Frankl calls playthings of circumstances. And some of you felt that. You felt what it's like to just be tossed around by the waves and the storms of life. You know that a whale never complains about a hurricane. You know why? Because a whale lives his life at a deeper level. The storms of life are going over the top of him. He lives his life at a deeper level. We need to live our life at a deeper level. Not just looking and being tossed about by the circumstances, but a deeper level where we're grabbing a hold of the belief in God's character, that he can do a good work in and through us, no matter what the circumstances. I have a good friend of mine. This is one of her favorite books of the Bible, but in recent years, she's just walked through what's been arguably the most challenging season of her life. And one of the things I admire so much about her is that her mantra has been, I'm going to choose joy in the midst of this. I am going to choose joy. So much so that she actually got it tattooed on her arm. I think Paul would say, yes, that's exactly right. You get to choose what you focus on. You can choose circumstances or you can choose joy. And joy is the belief, the confidence that Paul had that he who began a good work in you, he's going to finish it until the day that you lay eyes on Jesus. Whether that's at the end of your life here or Jesus comes back, God is at work. We can choose that kind of joy. Here's the problem. Some of us believe that we can control our circumstances. You can't control circumstances in your life. Some of you think that control in this life, it's absolutely just an illusion. You cannot engineer a problem-free life. You can't control the lives and the way people live around you that affect your life. You can't control it. And part of me wants to say, if you could, I would have figured it out by now because I want to. I want to try to. Remember when I was in my early years in one of my early leadership classes in seminary, one of my professors, as we were doing some personality tests and he was kind of getting to know me a little bit, he made the comment, he said, I kind of see your personality. He said, you're the kind of personality that has a steering wheel in their back pocket all the time so that you can pull it out and try to slap it on any and every situation so that you can try to control it. And I was just thinking, yeah, that's right. He did not mean it as a compliment. We cannot control the circumstances of our life. Paul just says, get rid of the steering wheel. Don't think that you can control everything. There are responsibilities that we need to take in the midst of and there are things that we can do, but to try to think that we can control circumstances, it is a crazy maker. Paul says,
sounds good.
This is the posture of someone who's dealing with control issues, anxiety issues. He says, you've got to relinquish it. This is the posture of someone who says, God, I trust you. Even in the midst of difficult circumstances, I trust you. And I started by talking about anxiety and depression.
Two lines of text, maybe?
Anxiety and depression is so often caused by our desire, our ability to think that we can control our circumstances. And oftentimes anxiety is the consequence of perceived chaos in our life. We start to feel like I'm a victim of all these unseen, turbulent, random forces. And as a result of that, my heart gets troubled. Think about it. Some of the most stressed out people that you probably know are the most high control freaks that you know. Because they fail in the very thing that they're trying to do. They think that they can control everything in their world and they just can't. And they fail and they just get in this spiral between anxiety and fear and then failure to control and anxiety and fear and failure to control. We've got to have a different posture. Paul is saying, don't think that you can control. What you need to do is you need to relinquish. You need to relinquish control to a God whose character you can trust, who you actually believe is going to do the good work and bring it to completion until the day that you see Christ Jesus. How's your joy? How is your joy right now? I want to ask another question. How's this going? What is your focus? What is it that your heart and your life is focused on? Is it focused on the circumstances of life that are stealing your joy? Are you able to look through the circumstances of life and trust a good God who's going to do a good work in you? Here's one of the last things I want to hear you say, because we don't always have the advantage of being able to know why it is that God does what he does. Like I said, Paul was looking back and he could see how God used it. But friends, our difficult circumstances, we're looking forward and we don't always know what it is that God's going to do. But what we do know, when we don't understand why God's hand moves the way that it does, we know his heart. We know that his heart is good for us. And he will do a good work in us that he will carry on to completion until he sees us face to face. Here's your assignment. Here's some things that I want you to do. Whenever you study a book of the Bible, it's always helpful to read all of it in its context. 2 times this week, I want you to just read the entire book of Philippians from beginning to end. It'll only take a few minutes. It's only 4 short chapters, but I want you to do that. And here's an assignment as well. I want you to look at the Bible Project video for Philippians. All you have to do is Google Bible Project Philippians, and this video will come up. It's just an overview so that you can understand the way Paul is thinking about kind of his flow of thought in this letter. This will help give you context for all of the things that are coming up. And then if you use that QR code that's on the chair back in front of you, there's some reflection questions on there because I want you to wrestle with things. I want you to start to wrestle with, what are the circumstances in my life that are stealing my joy? What are the things that are grabbing a hold of my attention other than the good work of God and my trust in his character? What is grabbing your attention? And then ask yourself, do I have control in these things? Is there anything that I can do, or is this out of my control and I just need to relinquish it to God and trust him? And then even ask yourself, can I see the hand of God in this? Even if it's difficult, can I see the hand of God working in my life? And the last thing I want you to do is that prayer, 9-11, that Paul prayed over the church in Philippi. I want you to spend some time this week praying that over your own life, that good work would be true in your life as well. And as we close, I'm really excited about this because we're going to celebrate communion. And this is just a tangible way for us to apply everything that we've been talking about today. Because friends, Jesus loves you. He knows what it's like to walk through this life. He knows the difficulties of this life. He knows how circumstances can distract us. But he wanted to give us an opportunity together as a spiritual family to not hold out our hand and just look at the circumstances, but to look through our circumstances, to remind ourselves of a good God and what it is that he was willing to do for us. And friends, this is what communion is a practical application of this. It's a chance for us to set down the difficult circumstances of our life, to don't focus on that, but to look through at the character of God and look at Jesus, who was willing to give his life to pay the penalty for sin that you deserved to pay. He lived the life that you should have lived, and he died the death that we deserved to die, and he did that in our place. And even if I don't understand the circumstances of life, I understand the heart of God when I look at the cross. And this is our opportunity to remember the cross. Remember who God is and what it is that he's done for us. Here's my ask. Before you come up and take communion today, would you just quiet your heart and just simply say, Jesus, I trust you. You can even name to him the circumstances of your life that you know are stealing your joy. But I want you to say, Jesus, I trust you. And when I look at the cross, I know that you love me. I know that I can trust you. When I don't understand your hand, Jesus, I know your heart. Let's pray. Jesus, we are so grateful that we have this opportunity to remember your goodness. We know, Jesus, that you're going to walk through everything with us. And we can be confident, Jesus, that you who began a good work in me will carry it on to completion until we see you face
All right, everybody, we're going to resurrender.
Jesus,
next.
as we celebrate
keys, camera 6, I
your
still don't have
supper
your feed. I actually
today,
don't have 5, 6, or 7
we
yet.
say
Okay, I
thank
got
you.
5, thank you.
Thank you that we have this opportunity to remember, and it's in your powerful and resurrected name that we pray. And all God's people said,
6, are you
amen.
there?
Just a couple of instructions. We're going to be able to come up here. There's going to be plenty of time. We've got a couple of songs. Feel free to linger. Just come up the right-hand side of the aisle. You can grab a piece of bread, which is exemplary of Jesus' broken body for us, and you can dip it in the cup, which is his shed blood for us, and we remember together. We have lots of tables up here, lots of opportunities to use all of the different stations, and we're going to continue to worship
6 and
together.
7 are both like super laggy. So I'm going to go 3, start worship.
Intro.
I don't trust 6 or 7 yet.
Chuck, move your antennas apart from each other.
Parker, same thing.
You're turning
Take
all
one.
the tables and calling for return.
6, you're gonna have to move your antennas, maybe restart your pterodactyl because it's just
The
not
things we did at first. You're clearing out
Take
the
2.
temple. You're cleaning out the
7,
dirt.
you're
For we
back.
are
Oh,
your
no, I'm just kidding. I'm glad I didn't pop
territory.
you.
Lord, we are your church.
Take 5.
We are
Take
your
1.
people.
Alright,
You are
7.
our God.
7 looking better. Take
We are
7.
your temple. Make us holy like you are.
Alright, 6, there we go. Take 6, much better. Ready, 1. Take 1.
You see a holy nation, a flock to consecrate.
4, head her down.
A chosen generation,
Take 4.
people called to pray. So help us, God, to please you.
Alright, 4, go up to Brandon now. Just go straight up in there.
For every moment matters in eternity.
Take 7.
We are your people.
7, if you've got a shot, go down to the
You
point
are
and
our
land.
God.
There.
We are your temple.
7's love.
Make us holy
Close that.
like you
1.
are.
Take 1.
We are your children. You set us apart.
Take 4. Take 4.
God, for your glory, make us holy like you are.
6, I need some keys and quick. Take 6. Ready. Ready, 1. Take 1.
Mark your people with your presence. Make us a place where you delight to
Ready, 2.
dwell.
Take 2.
May we
Ready,
heed
7.
your hands correction. Oh Lord, our shepherd,
7.
you do all things well.
Take
Your
1.
love has
Take 5. 5 back to round 2. Ready, 7.
Your law is perfect.
2. Take 2.
Your
7. Take 7. Ready, 5.
as we
Take
run
5. Ready, 2.
we
Take 2.
surrender.
Ready, 1.
You will
Take
restore
1.
what we return to you. You are
Take
restoring
6.
as we
Ready, 7. Take 7. Take 1.
We are your people.
Ready, 2. Take 2.
You are our God. We are your
Take 5.
temple.
Take 5.
Make us holy like
2. Take 2.
you are. We are your
Ready,
children.
7.
Set us
1. Take 1.
apart.
4.
God, for
Take
your
4.
glory, make us
Ready.
holy like you are.
Take 1.
Oh,
6. Take 6. Ready, 4. Take 4. Ready, 1. Take 1. 6. Take 6. 2. Take 2. 1. Take 1.
you're calling, we're
4, get to the
coming.
lead guitar.
Not walking, we're running. God, when
Ready,
we
6.
surrender, so we resurrender.
6.
If you're calling, we're coming.
2, get tighter randomize. 1, take
We're
1.
running.
2,
God, when
take
we
2. 4, get to
resurrender,
Emily, please.
so we surrender.
Take
You're
4.
calling, we're coming. We're not
Ready,
walking, we're running.
Take 5.
God, we need resurrender.
1, take 1.
So we
6,
resurrender.
take 6.
You're calling, we're coming.
1,
We're
take
not
1.
walking,
Get 2,
we're running.
take 2. 4, stay over on Emily. 4, stay on Emily. seven.
are our God.
Take two.
We are your temple.
Ready, one.
Make us
Take one.
holy
Ready,
like
four.
you
Four,
are.
stay there. Take four.
We are your children.
Ready, one.
Set
Take
us
one.
apart.
Two.
God, for
Take
your
two.
glory.
Ready, six.
Make
Take
us
six.
holy like
Ready, one.
you
Take
are
one.
holy.
Four,
We're
get tight on
coming,
Emily, please.
not walking, we're running. God, we need
Four, head down.
resurrender.
And four, take four.
So we resurrender if
Ready,
you're
one.
calling.
Actually,
we're
one, we're going to
coming,
switch you over here in a
not
minute.
walking, we're running. God,
Seven,
we
if you
need
can follow Sierra,
resurrender.
because she's going to walk up to the front of the
So
stage.
we resurrender.
Take five. Five, hold that. Six. Take seven.
Intro. 2, 3, 4.
And then take two. Seven, if you can get to Wes. That was my bad, sorry. And take seven. Ready, one. And take
I
one.
love you, Lord.
Five,
Oh,
hold
your
that there. I
mercy
like that.
never fails me.
Ready, two.
All
Take two.
my days, I've been held in your hand.
Five. Take five.
From the moment that I wake up until I lay
Take one.
my head,
Take one.
oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Ready, two. Take two.
All my life you have been faithful.
Take seven.
All my life you have been so.
Ready, four. Four, go back down. Start that. Seven. Right here. Four. Take four. Go up.
Every breath that I am made,
Ready, one. Take one.
oh, I will sing of
Ready,
the
six.
goodness of God.
Take six.
I love your voice.
Nice. Ready, two.
You have led me through the
Ready,
fire
seven. Take
in the
seven.
darkest night.
Ready, five.
You were close like no
Take
other.
five.
Known you as a father.
Take one.
I've known you as a friend.
Six.
I have
Take
lived
six.
in the goodness.
Ready,
of
one.
God.
Take one. Ready, seven. Take seven.
All my life you have been faithful.
Two. Take two.
Yes, you have. All my life
Ready,
you
one.
have been so, so good.
Take one.
With every breath that I am making,
Two, four.
oh, I will sing of the goodness of
Take one.
God.
Take one. Oh, I missed that. Sorry.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
Take seven.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
Take four.
With my life laid down,
Hey, go
I
for the rhythm now.
surrender now. I give you everything.
Keep going. Keep going.
Your
Over to
goodness
Sierra.
is running after, it's running after
Ready, one.
me.
Take one.
Your goodness is running
Ready, seven.
after, it's
Take seven.
running after me.
Take two.
Your goodness is running
Ready, seven.
after, it's running after
seven.
me.
Ready,
My
one. Take
life
one.
laid down, I surrender
Ready, six.
now. I give you everything.
Take six.
Your goodness
two.
is running after, it's running after me.
All right, four. Get ready for that false ending. One. Take one. Four tight on Sierra.
All my life you
One.
have
You're
been
still left.
faithful.
Ready, six.
All my life you have been
Ready,
so,
four.
so
Take
good.
Ooh, wrong time. One.
Every
Take one.
breath
Four, go
that
back.
I am able, oh, I'm gonna sing
Ready, two. Take
of
two.
the goodness.
All right, four. A little
Come
slower.
on and
Take four.
sing.
Wait. All right, go.
Go close.
Nice job, everybody.
We get to
Good.
choose what we focus on. Choose joy. Journey, it was awesome to get to worship with you. I do want to acknowledge again that we know that there are people that are carrying real difficult circumstances, and we want to walk with you in and around that. We've got prayer tables on the end of the stage here, and some folks that would love to pray with you, pray over you around anything that's difficult in your life, and help embolden your faith to believe that God is doing a good work in you, even in the midst of things that are difficult. I want to let you know that if your next step is to get connected to one of our Journey communities, there's a table out in the lobby that says find a group. And if you're new or newer around here, we would love to get connected with you. There's a table out there that says I'm new. We would love to help figure out how to get you an on-ramp into getting connected to our community. And as always, there's never a hurry to leave around here. We talk about moving from rows to circles and getting to know one another. Say hello to someone as you walk out. I love you, Journey. Have a great day.
Go songbacks. Credits, whatever they're called.
Or CG3 slides rolling?
Nope, thank you.
I always look for that so we don't black out.
Go CG3 doll.
Go CG3 doll.
All right, perfect. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you up here in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Camera 2 or camera 1 stepping down.
And if you want, next to the things, never mind. I got a solution for it. Never mind. Forget I exist.
Hard to do.
4 stepping down.